Dear viewers, welcome to lesson 21. I salute you all and I'm happy to be with you at this juncture. Before I take you through lesson 21, we need to make corrections for the previous work, which was about a great deal of. And we told you that a great deal of is used in affirmative sentences with only uncountable nouns. The difference between a lot of and a great deal of is a lot of can be used with both countable and uncountable nouns, whereas a great deal is used on only uncountable nouns. And let me take you through the corrections for the previous work we gave you. The instruction was, change the sentences below to negative, interrogative, and negative interrogative. Question 1 was, Darius sells a great deal of wheat flour at his shop. Our keyword is a great deal of. So if you change this statement to negative form, we have to drop our structure, a great deal of, and then replace it with much, since the noun given to us is uncountable. The question reads in affirmative, Darius sells a great deal of wheat flour at his shop. So we have changed it to negative and it has to be, Darius does not sell much wheat flour at his shop. So don't make a mistake of using a great deal again. Question answer to interrogative form. It has to be, we have to begin with our helping verb, which is does. Does Darius sell much wheat at his shop? Answer in interrogative form has to be, does Darius sell much wheat flour at his shop? That is interrogative. If I change the sentence to negative interrogative, the answer has to be, doesn't Darius sell much wheat flour at his shop? Why do we call it negative interrogative? Because our helping verb is negative. This word that begins the sentence is a negative word. That's why we call it a negative interrogative. We have doesn't as a negative helping verb. Then we have to say, doesn't Darius sell much wheat flour at his shop? That's the reason why we call it negative interrogative. We have a negative helping verb that begins the question. Then we put it into negative interrogative. So question 2 was, there was a great deal of sand in the swamp. A great deal is our keyword. Now if you change the sentence to negative form, we have to change a great deal to much, because sand as a noun is an uncountable one. So the answer negative has to be, there wasn't much sand in the swamp. That is negative. And we have a negative helping verb. That makes the answer negative, wasn't. So if I change the sentence to interrogative form, we have our helping verb, which begins a question, which is was. Was there much sand in the swamp? That is interrogative. So if I change the answer in negative interrogative, we begin with our answer with a negative helping verb, which is wasn't. Wasn't there much sand in the swamp? Somebody can even answer in affirmative. Yes, there was a great deal. That's affirmative. Negative, how to say, no, there wasn't. Those are two answers somebody can give you. If somebody is to answer you, if you need somebody's responses, you can answer like that. Let's go to question 3, which was, Samson Kasumba read a great deal of news last evening. You know that, if he's a news anchor. So if our keyword is a great deal of, if I change the sentence to negative form, we have to change the structure great deal of to much. The word in news sounds as if it is plural, but it's a singular word. Though it takes a singular helping verb. Take a note of that. News is not a word in plural. It's a noun in singular. So the answer negative form has to be, Samson did not read much news last evening. Since our sentence in affirmative is in past simple tense, that's why I brought in did not. The negative helping verb did not, because our sentence in affirmative is in past simple tense. That's why you have to say negative. Samson did not read much news last evening. So the answer in interrogative form will have to begin with a positive helping verb, which is did. Did Samson Kasumba read much newspaper last evening? That is interrogative. Then we have the negative interrogative, which has to begin with the negative helping verb, which is didn't, to make the statement interrogative. Did Samson Kasumba read much newspaper last evening? If you want my response negative, I have to say, no, Samson didn't. If you want my response in affirmative, I have to say, yes, Samson did. He read a great deal of news last evening. I think we are together. Let me continue with question 4. Question 4 was, the farmers will harvest a great deal of rice this season because we've got a lot of rainfall. So expect them to harvest a lot. So our keyword is our keywords or our structure is a great deal of, which we have to change to much. If you change the statement or the sentence to negative form, whereby rice is our noun, which is uncountable noun. In a negative, we have to say, the farmers will not harvest much rice this season. That is negative. We have a negative modal verb, which makes that sentence negative. Now, if you change the sentence to interrogative form, we have to begin with a positive modal verb, which is will. And the answer will read, will the farmers harvest much rice this season? That is interrogative. If I change the sentence to negative interrogative, we put them together because our sentence begins with a negative modal verb, which is won't. And we begin our question and say, won't the farmers harvest much rice this season? I can even answer you negatively. No, they won't. If it's positive, I will say, yes, they will harvest a great deal of rice this season. So those were the questions that we gave you. Let me take you through today's work. That is lesson 21. And we have a structure which is already. Already is an adverbial. Already is an adverbial indicator of the present perfect tense. And we also use it in past perfect tense. Adverbial is an adjective which comes from the word adverb. Take a note of that. So when we say already is an adverb indicator of the present perfect tense, and we also use it in the past simple tense, it means after the helping verb, we bring our adverbial word, which is already, then followed by the main verb. So in present perfect tense, we normally use the two helping verbs, has and have. That is present perfect tense, if you have to construct sentences in that tense. Whereas in past perfect tense, where we use the helping verb, had, followed by the adverbial indicator already. Take a note of that, our beloved candidates. Let me proceed. This structure is used in affirmative sentences, but when we are changing sentences to negative and interrogative form, already changes to yet. Take a note of that. We use already in affirmative sentences. Don't confuse the two. Don't go African way and make grammatical errors. We use the word already, the adverbial indicator already is used in affirmative sentences. But when we are changing the sentences to negative, interrogative, already changes to yet. Take a note of that. Let's go through the examples. Take you through the examples. Example 1. Kato has already bathed. We have our already as our keyword. Now, if you change the sentence to negative form, our candidates take a note of this. Already has to change to yet. And our answer negative has to be, Kato has not yet bathed. That is negative. And the word not makes the sentence to be a negative one because of included not. The sentence disagrees. Affirmative, Kato has already bathed. Negative, Kato has not yet bathed, which means the sentence negative always disagree to affirmative statement. Let's look at the sentence in interrogative form. We have to begin with our positive helping verb and say, has Kato bathed yet? That's interrogative. If I change this sentiment to negative interrogative, we have to begin with a negative helping verb, which is, hasn't Kato bathed yet? I can give a response negative. No, Kato has not yet bathed. If it's affirmative, yes, Kato has already bathed. Take a note of that, candidates. Example 2. Let's look at example 2. Example 2 says, the children have already had supper. The children have already had supper. My statement is in affirmative form and it is in past perfect tense. What shows that the statement is in past perfect tense? Because of the helping verb had. If I'm changing this statement to present perfect tense, I have to say, the children have already bathed. The children have already bathed. But if I'm changing to past perfect tense, I have to change my have to had and say, the children. Question example 2 is, the children have already bathed. If it is past perfect, I have to say, the children had already bathed. That is past perfect. Now, example 2 is, the children have already had supper. The children have already had supper. That is affirmative. If I'm changing to negative, it has to be, the children have not yet had supper. The children have not yet had supper. That is negative. And then the word not makes it a negative. If I'm to change this sentence to interrogative form, I have to begin with a positive helping verb, which says, have the children had supper? That is interrogative. If I'm changing this sentence to negative interrogative, I have to begin with my negative helping verb, which says, haven't the children had supper? I can give you a response and a negative response and say, no, the children have not yet had supper. The positive one will be, yes, the children have already had supper. Take a note of that, our candidates. Let's look at the last example, loved ones. The last example is, the president had already given his speech. The statement, you can all guess that it is in past perfect tense. And you can guess that what makes this sentence to be in past perfect tense is the helping verb had. In the present perfect tense, it has to be, the president has already given his speech. That is the present perfect. If I'm changing to past perfect, I have to change has to had, which is, the president had already had his speech. The past part of it, whereby this sentence is in the past perfect tense. So if I'm changing this statement to negative, I have to say, the president had not yet given his speech. The president had not yet given his speech. That is negative. Now, if I'm changing to interrogative form, it has to be, had the president given his speech yet? Had the president given his speech yet? That is interrogative. If I'm to change it to negative interrogative, I have to begin with the negative helping verb. Hadn't the president given his speech yet? I can give you a negative response. Say, no, the president had not given his speech. If it's positive, I have to say, yes, the president had already given his speech. That is positive. Candace, I thank you, and I know that you have got me, and you will be able to do that work well. So go through those examples to be able to get that to work. I wish you a good day. Bye-bye.